Hello. Thanks for joining me again on Flea's Bourbon Journey. So we didn't have a winner in our giveaway last time, but I still wanted to show you that I'm capable of bringing you some reviews on some of the things that we find every day in the local grocery store or the little mom and pop liquor shop that's right down the street from our house. So I brought you that Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 Tennessee Sour Mash Whiskey. And then I got to thinking, there's no reason I can't offer some reviews of some of the other things that are mid or even bottom shelf that are still good drinkers. So what I'm bringing you tonight is this Jim Beam Black Extra Aged Bourbon. Okay, this is this same recipe that they've been using since 1795. Okay, they've added some additional time in the barrel to give a full-bodied character that's definitely worth the wait, or so they would have us believe. And this is Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 43% alcohol by volume, 86 proof. As you can see, I have not yet opened this. I'm going to open it tonight on the show for the first time. I've also never tried this before. So opening a bottle for the first time is called a fresh crack. Okay? And being a first drink, first try, there's a lot of different names for the first time that you try something, but I usually call fresh crack first tries this. I'm going to open the bottle and try it for the first time. So I have a plan. The plan is I'm going to put 2 ounces of it in my Jagger Jigger. That's going to go into my Spirits and Things Glencairn glass. I'm going to let it rest for 15 minutes or so. Then I'm going to give you what I think the nose has for me. Of course, we'll get some tasting going on. I'll tell you what I taste on the palate. And then I thought we would change it up a little bit. We'll take a short pause after I give you my tasting notes. We'll take the remainder and put it on ice and see how that changes it. So you're going to get a 2-for-1 tonight. I hope you enjoy this. So without further ado, let's get this bottle cracked open. Now I know that some of you out there drink the Jim Beam straight stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just thought that I could give you the option on something that's a notch above. I actually was shopping for something else the day that I stumbled on this, and I don't particularly like or dislike Jim Beam. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not something that I typically have in my cupboard for preferences. But I thought, boy, the extra time, maybe it's worth it. And the day that I saw this, it was at my local grocery store, wine, beer, and spirits area, of all places, and I got this bottle for only $20. So even though it's got the extra aged factor, it still wasn't very expensive. But extra aging typically does give you different flavors, and a lot of times for those of us that have different palates, we'll actually pick out different characteristics of it as well, compared to the stuff that's not aged as long. But like I said, we're going to give that about 15 minutes. I'll be right back to tell you what I think. Okay, so we're back. It's been about 15 minutes ago that I poured this Jim Beam Black Extra Aged Bourbon into my Spirits and Things Glencairn glass. And being a fresh crack, first time opening the bottle, it's a good idea to let it get a little air, let it breathe, as some would say. I did forget to mention previously that this is generally accepted to be aged around 6 years, give or take. Now there's no actual age statement on the bottle. At one time, it was called double aged and was aged for 8 years. But around 2015, I think I read, is when they switched to extra aged so they could have more flexibility. They can decide how long it's aged past the 4 years and it's still going to be bourbon. Anyway, let's see what the nose thinks on this one, shall we? Okay. I'm getting oak. There's a subtle, it's a caramely note, but I know what it is. You know when you're a kid, you get these little caramel creams or Brock's, the caramels that have the cream colored flavored fillings? It has a smell like one of the vanilla ones of those, like a mixture between vanilla and caramel. Okay? It's kind of in there, but I can pick that out. The other thing I'm smelling, I'm not sure I want to share that. It's there every time, so I'm just going to say it. The oak is front, but right behind the oak, ahead of the vanilla Brock's candy, vanilla cream Brock's caramels, there's a cherry NyQuil kind of scent. I've never had that on a whiskey or bourbon before. It could just be that the alcohol is trumping a cherry note. It's not uncommon to get cherry notes in certain oak barrel aged whiskeys and bourbons, but it's like their one aroma, like cherry NyQuil. So there you have that. Let's see if it tastes anything like it smells. Bearing in mind, I've never tried this before. Okay. This isn't a real dark colored bourbon, so I don't really expect it to linger much. That, and it's an inexpensive price point for their distillery, so it's not meant to be or meant to taste like a top shelf bourbon. But it has a pretty good linger. It sticks around. The way it hits my tongue and the inside of my mouth, it's a little bit more oily than thick. But again, we're not talking about a $100 bottle of bourbon here. Flavors are there. Let me hit it again and try to tell you what I'm tasting. Okay, there's two on the front, like right up front, that are kind of competing. One of them I expect, and that's the oak, the gentle woody oak flavor from being in charred oak barrels. The other one I didn't expect on this low of a price point of a bottle, and that's leather. You typically don't get that leathery taste with bourbons that are this young. That's something you typically only find in the higher end bottles, but I'm happy to say it's right up front on this one. Okay, leather and oak right up front. Right behind them is caramel, and it's more pronounced on the tongue than it was on the nose. Behind that is that vanilla. So we went from a Brock's vanilla caramel candy as a kind of a combined unified scent to those flavors being a little bit diverse from each other on the palate. Again, I don't want to say it, but let me try again and make sure I'm correct. Cherry NyQuil. It is an alcohol, and NyQuil does have alcohol in it. Different type of alcohol situation, but that's not surprising that there's an alcohol flavor. It's interesting how it's still like a combined flavor. There's not cherry and then followed by alcohol, or alcohol followed by cherry. It's just cherry NyQuil. Or maybe cherry Robitussin. I don't know. But it's like a alcohol-y cherry, cough syrupy kind of flavor. I don't mind it. I can't say it would be a bottle I would go to for sipping. I certainly wouldn't turn it down if it was offered. But I'm a little curious what this will do. Okay. We're going to give this about 3 or 4 minutes on a cube. And we're going to see what we think on a cube. See if anything's changed. Stay tuned. Okay, so we've let our Jim Beam Black Extra Aged Bourbon rest on a cube for about 4 minutes. Okay, and what I'm going to do is give it a little spin on the cube. Got my 2.5-inch cube in there, so it won't melt quite as fast as the little ones. Let's see what that may have done for it, if anything. Wow. Right up front, I'm getting sweet grain. What a change. Wow. I still have oak. The vanilla doesn't seem to be present anymore, and the caramel seems not to be present anymore. I'm still getting hints of the cherry, but as you would expect, the alcohol kind of flavor has been diminished a lot by the cube, which is pretty common. Whether you add a couple of drops of water in your Glencairn glass to bring that heat down on the alcohol-y flavor, or if you put it on ice, in either case, you're going to diminish that alcohol flavor. That's also another trick that some folks use when they get into a bottle that they maybe don't care for as much, like I did recently with another bottle of mine, Noble Oak. You might recall that review. And I will revisit that one, and I'll do a couple drops of water first, and then I'll do a cube like I've done here to give that bottle a fair shake at another shot. They say everybody deserves a second chance, right? This one's definitely true. It's okay in a Glen. So much better on ice. I actually like this. This is really not bad at all. Okay, so factoring in that it's a $20 bottle, it's readily available all over town. I even saw some at a Walgreens liquor area, if you can believe that. And that you can get it for about 20 bucks. That it's aged longer than bourbon has to be called bourbon. The fact that it does drink so well on a cube, and that the flavors are complex enough to keep the attention of someone like myself with a little bit more trained palate. I'm giving this an 8. 8 out of 13. Pretty good. I'll be revisiting this in a Liquor 43 induced Old Fashioned next. Or in the future. I don't know. There's so many bottles for me to review and to taste and try for the first time. Plus so many that I've opened that I haven't done reviews for you. It might take a while to get back to it, but you will see this one on my table again. Guys, thanks for joining me again on Flea's Bourbon Journey. If you like this video, yeah, I said. If you think someone else would, share it. And if you want to see what I do next, don't forget to subscribe. In the comments down below, let me know if you've tried this or if you want to try this. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what your favorite is. Let's talk about bottles that are around 20 bucks. All kinds of different bottles you can get for 20 bucks in the whiskey and rye and bourbon game. Let me know what your favorite is for around 20 bucks in the comments down below. Let's get a little conversation going. After all, we all have our own journey. No reason we can't share it, right? Stay safe.